Welcome to the DARE podcast, where it is all about helping people overcome anxiety and panic attacks. The DARE app has over 1 million downloads and is free to download at dareresponse.com. Now, without further ado, here is the DARE podcast.
Here comes everybody. Hi, guys. Aida's coming. She's probably logging in. We were chatting right before this call. Hi. Okay, I see the numbers going up. And we have our special guest for today. Oh, I should change my name here. Hi, Peter. How's it going? Good.
Yeah.
Just going to change my name here.
Hi, Peter.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning. Good. How are you? It's so cool you're with us today.
Well, I've come a long way, so here I am.
Awesome.
We got like a foot of snow last night. Crazy.
Oh, really?
Schools are closed. Yeah. The snow day.
Oh, gosh. Well, hi, guys. Who's participating? Hi. I see 54 people on so far. I think we had like 140 people registered for this. So pretty cool. People might be popping on as it goes on, but pop on in the chat. Who's here? Where are you from? Anybody want to say hi?
Peter, where do you live?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City.
Not California, Michelle. I don't know
Why
why
did I think that? Were you on vacation that day?
Uh,
The palm trees and the drive and the
maybe.
Might have been.
Maybe.
Bosnia, Greece.
That is so cool to see people joining in from everywhere. So I'm so excited that Peter is joining us today. And I think we have a few questions that people submitted that are just perfect for Peter because he's an expert in them. Would you agree, Michelle?
Definitely. Do you want to start though, Peter? You want to fill us in on like your little journey and what's involved and where you got stuck, and then we'll start questions later on if you want to stick around with questions.
Sure. Well, for me, it started probably about 2 years ago, and I've had anxiety my whole life as long as I can remember, and it just I could never really just get over the hump with medication and whatnot. And finally, I was sitting at my playing my drums one day, and I just had a panic attack. And I just started getting this derealization and dizzy, and I ran outside. I was freaking out. And I kept getting these emails from Barry. I'm like, who's this Barry guy? Who is this guy? And they just kept coming. I'm like, I took a look at it and it was DARE. And that's when I started my journey with DARE. And that was in February of 2020. So coming up on 2 years. And it's been a life changer for me. With anxiety, we think we're the only ones that have this issue, and we're not. And that's what I really got. It's like, why am I going through this, and why do I feel like this? And why am I constantly on edge? And so I took it upon myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I just got going with it and ran with it. And once I really got into the bones of it, the meat of it, which for me was just really getting in and just getting comfortable with my anxious discomfort, is when my journey really, really started. And it's been incredible. You guys are a godsend. I don't know what I'd do without you. And probably a lot of people can say that, but it's been, it's, as we know, it's just horrible to live with at times, and it's be all consuming, but it doesn't have to be. So, but what I've learned about myself is I'm a lot stronger than I think, and I have a lot more strength than I can ever imagine. And I found that through DARE, so, and I think I'm just sensitive. I'll always be sensitive. So I'll always might have kind of a disposition towards anxiety, but it doesn't have to run my life. And that's what I really get. So I'm here coming up on 2 years. I feel I'm pretty much recovered. I do get anxious still, and that's just normal, I guess, at times, depending on the stress levels, but it doesn't really scare me anymore. The sensations don't really, they're there, but they're just an annoyance more than anything else.
Yeah. And now you come on the call, sometimes you pop in on the groups and you're more like this. Yeah. Usually like this.
It's just
a version of this.
Not on my calls. On my calls, he's always either on the treadmill, walking, lifting some weight. Very
exercise has been my biggest key because it gets me out of my head. And, I'll throw it in meditation. I've meditated for years and years, and it's been a life changer because it really helps me to feel my feelings. And that's been a huge difference for me as well. And another thing is it was just energy, and energy is very uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous.
So when did you start? Like, when did it click? What helped the most? Like what did you say you were doing Dare wrong, or
Oh,
doing whatever before
I
Dare
was not
wrong?
accepting completely. I was not accepting 100%. And I still don't at times, because sometimes I just say to myself, I got to go there. I got to go feel it. And it's, the sensations are, as we all can, they're very intense at times. And it's just, okay, well, then I got to go sit with it. And I would just go to my room and sit with it and just be with it, and notice that it goes up and down and up and down, and the waves come and go. But once I really learned how to accept and allow, just really truly accept, it does calm down. And it might come back, and I have to maybe do that all day long, which sometimes I do, but it's, once you get in that flow, that's how I've healed myself, is with flowing with it. And you said, Michelle, you flow, you fight yourself into it, but you flow yourself out of it. And for me, it's just the flowing and the floating with it has it's healed my anxiety, and but I'm still sensitized a bit, and that's okay, but I'm almost there. I'm on the other side of this, and it feels wonderful. It feels freeing. It feels to wake up and go through most of the day with no anxiety. It's the best feeling in the world.
And I would like to add to that, Peter, because you said, I still sometimes experience anxiety. And I think a lot of people ask, well, will I always be more susceptible to anxious feelings? Is this something I will have to deal with for the rest of my life? And the fact is that people who once had an anxiety disorder most probably have just a vulnerability for it. Other people may have vulnerability for cancer or for depression or for migraines or whatever it is. But we have on one side the vulnerability part, and on the other side, we have protective mechanisms, so to speak, which I think everybody can attest to the fact that the more we take care of our physical and mental health, the less anxiety we experience. But sometimes stress mounts up in life and things happen that are outside of our control, where anxiety will manifest. And in these moments, we have the right tools to flow through that phase, as Peter just said. But yes, and I think it's a good thing if people think of themselves as a person who is susceptible to experiencing anxiety and truly accept that, not as a bad thing, but as just a thing that is.
Right.
And there are even worse things than having that.
Yeah, we're able to feel. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that can just are really deep feelers, and that's a gift. It's a
right,
gift to be able
because that's anxiety is just another feeling, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the feeling that's the disorder, which everybody knows how much I hate that term. It's not a disordered feeling, it's a disordered treatment of a normal feeling. So some of us might fluctuate a little bit more, go a little bit higher, a little bit at the wrong time, but this is never the problem. It became the problem when we started to try and get rid of it and stare at it. And this just happens to be the part of us that helps us fight. So when we fight the part of us that helps us fight, we don't give it a chance to have it calm itself down. And so, like, I remember in the beginning, it was, I can almost tell, like, the weeks where, like, the whole attitude just changed, when it went from like, yeah, I'm doing Dare, but I'm still having this thing and these sensations and these thoughts. But Michelle, you're saying if you do this, eventually it'll go away, right? Right? Eventually it'll go away, right? Like, I'm doing it, but it's still there. Which is where everybody goes, right? But then it became this, like, whatever mindset. And
Right.
That's when you let go of that stuff.
And my thing is going, of course, going crazy. And it feels like that. And, or, the derealization, nothing's real, this is fake, blah, blah, blah. It's extremely scary. But I'm like, okay, well, I woke up this morning, I'm still here. Well, nothing's happened. All right. Let's see what happens. And that's kind of go with that mindset. It's all right. If I do go crazy, and I'm going down fighting. Of course, it never happens, but that's kind of the mindset I have. And it's, what's really helped me also is the daily dares in the morning. I just listen to it all the time. I listen to them. Your YouTube videos you post, I listen to those all the time as well. I listened to the one the other day on thoughts, where you said something about, you just kind of separate yourself from them. And that's helped me a ton too. Because thoughts, I think, are, for me anyway, I'd say for most people, are hard.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? 73 people now. Whose thing is thoughts, DP, DR? That's your representative of that.
It's just a mental sensation. And when you put it like that, it's like, okay, well, that really helps, because it is just a sensation. Uncomfortable, but, still a sensation.
Thoughts are so difficult because until we don't have an anxiety problem, we feel one with our mind. We're like, okay, as long as this is running well, I'm well. But then all of a sudden our mind, it seems like it has a life of its own, doing things that we don't want it to do. And this is when we think, oh my God, something is really, really wrong with us, because it's about, up here, the central station. If this is not functioning, then I can't control it. And I think what a fundamental teaching of DARE is for you to know that you are not your mind. Your mind, we always say your mind is like another organ in your body. Your lungs have a function to breathe. Your liver has a function. And your mind also has a function, and that is to analyze and to plan and to make sense of things and to predict and project into the future. But it only can do so much. So it gives you information and predictions and its opinion on a certain topic, but that doesn't mean that it is right, that it is correct. And if you notice, your mind never says, oh, you are going crazy. Your mind always says, oh my God, looks like, hey, what if?
Feels like, what if? This reminds me of imagine.
Yeah, imagine, look, what if? Do something. This seems like something bad is about to happen. So would you please get up and do something? And then you get that urge of either running or fighting or suppressing. But that's all there is really. And you are like a viewer sitting in a cinema, and you can look at your thoughts like being content on a stage. So you can react to them or don't react to them. But the problem is that we take the content on the screen as literal and as the truth. And this is why we react to them. And DARE really teaches us to be non-reactive. This is actually what diffusion is. I'm looking at something as opposed to through something and making it my reality. But it is hard. It is something that takes time.
I just said that this morning, looking at something and through something. Exactly. That was my little post. There's a little monster, and here's fear. We look at it, right? But the goal is to make it, the original thing was a person driving the car. And what do you look at when you're driving the car? You look at the road. You see the windshield, but you look through the windshield and you focus on the road. We get stuck on, here's these thoughts. I don't like them. Better stare at them. They get labeled as danger. They get fused, right? And now then it becomes a perpetual, I have to get rid of these thoughts. When I get rid of these thoughts, then I'll let go. I'm going to dare through these thoughts to let go. And the more we try and get rid of, the more we try and feel more connected, the more disconnected we find, right? And I'm doing DARE wrong. Anybody else in the comments do that too, right? Trying to dare through this. And if you checking in to see if it worked, if I did it right, is it gone? That's not DARE. Then you're still trying to get rid of thoughts and this weird disconnected feeling and physical sensations.
It's really about changing your inner attitude towards these things, never about changing the things, not the feelings, not the thoughts, not the zaps, not all of that. It's about you. This is the only thing you have control over. But we get stuck in, as Michelle just said, and but when this is gone, then I'm fine. No, when your attitude changes, then you're fine, because then you're flexible. Right. Anxiety causes you to become rigid and stiff. And DARE helps you to become flexible. So now you have more room to think of alternatives. Oh, I still have that thought. I could believe it, or I could not believe it. Now I have that room, and I can make a choice. And when that happens, the body starts to take care of itself, because you are starving anxiety, because the food of anxiety is your fight. The, oh my God, and what the fuck, what is going on? Where is this coming from? Why? Anxiety's favorite question, why? What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong? Because we always say that you don't have a context. There is no context. When you're afraid of a spider, you can see it's the spider. There is the threat. But with general anxiety or intrusive thoughts and derealization, depersonalization, there is a threat, but there is no context. And this is why the mind keeps asking why. And DARE helps you with step 1, the diffuse technique, to give your brain context, which is so important. And the context is a very simple one. Oh, just stress hormones. That is it. That is it. My mind is looking for danger. There is none. It's turning on itself. I can let this go. I don't need to fight this. I don't need to do more. I don't need to add a story to this. There's not more to it than just stress hormones.
Yeah. Do nothing. Absolutely do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
remember
it. And
that requires little effort, but
I want to
trust.
crawl out of my skin at times, but doing nothing is the key, And I just saw somebody post something about, something about allowing. And I think for me, Barry says the key drivers are diffuse and allow, that the primary drivers are healing or anxiety. And for me, that was very true. So for me, it was allowing, probably diffusing, and then I think engaging for me was also, but I never really ran towards a lot. But allowing for me has really just been the key to healing myself. And I've had it since I can remember. I've probably 50 years. I'm going to say that now, maybe 45. So I've never done anything about it. So my body's not going to reset in even however long it takes. It's been a long time, and there's a lot of resistance to anxiety that I have in my body. So I'm trying to drop the expectation of trying to feel better really soon. I just want to get done with it like everybody else.
Mhm.
But I've been this way a long time, and I've never really dealt with it. And that means dealing with deep-seated emotions that come up for me, whether that be fear, a lot of anger, God, but I
With
feel
a
it.
smile and a laugh.
Yeah.
A lot of anger.
A lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of all this stuff I never want to feel. But the thing is, you can never run your emotions. And that's the bottom line. That really helped me too. I can't run fast enough or hide from them. They'll just catch up with you. So that's where allowing comes in. Like I woke up this morning, I was still anxious, and that's fine. It is what it is. But as the day progresses, the allowing becomes easier and easier and easier. And then at night, it's fine. But
Awesome. So any a bit of advice, one thing you would give to all of these people that are hanging on your every word to say, oh my gosh, I'm this guy, 50 years, thoughts, sensations, derealization, what?
I think to be kind to yourself, and I think trust yourself. And whenever I had an opportunity to go to the store, go anywhere, I would go. I'll go get the dip. I'll go do this. I'll go do that. I would go to the mall. I'd walk around, whatever it takes. I would just go volunteer to go out and drive. So I'm fine. I don't mind going out. It doesn't bother me at all. Driving nothing really bothers me. It's just the sensations are still, they're still there. But practice allowing, practice, and that's all you can do. That's all I do. Just keep practicing, and it gets easier. And then you notice you can go longer without really engaging with it, and you just kind of, you get in that flow, and it's like, oh, great. Mm-hmm. And then you checking in. I check in. I mean, it's just so automatic, but it's like, okay. So now my checking in is much less than it was before. That's been a key too.
Right.
I don't check in as much.
Do you notice that's happening kind of by accident? You notice the thoughts are going away because you weren't trying to get rid of them. It's like, correct. Oh, wait, I haven't had those thoughts in a while. As a look back.
Yep. Awesome. Checking in. It's like, I think you said once, Michelle, you don't stop checking in. You just, notice it. And because I think it's habit for me anyway, just to check in all the time. But that's so self-conscious about everything.
Yes, but don't forget checking in. We think that people only check in when they're anxious, which is not true. The brain checks in all the time, actually, but we don't notice it because the feedback is a good one. The brain does that subconsciously every few minutes. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? But since the feedback is, oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine. No threat detected. We don't notice that check-in. But when we feel anxiety, there is the alarm system is on alert. And now the feedback is, oh, I don't know. Still cortisol. And this is why you notice the check-ins more, but we do that actually all the time. So maybe to all of you who experience check-ins and you're afraid of them, you can actually just tell yourself, oh, thank you, brain, for checking in. Everything's fine. Thank you, brain, for checking in. Everything is fine. That way you take away that negative layer, that negative appraisal of, oh my God, you see, I'm checking in all the time. How can I stop checking in? You can't. This is what your brain will always do. Just know that when you feel anxious, the feedback from your body will be one of, ooh, not so good yet, not yet.
Right. And there's a check-in to notice what your body's doing. And then when we can also go and check in and look for danger. Are there snakes? Are there snakes? Are there snakes? right? Rather than, oh yeah, I notice I'm cold. Oh yeah, I noticed I feel a little nauseous right now. Rather than, I feel nauseous. What if I throw up? Better get rid of nausea to make sure I don't throw up. Oh, check in. Let's keep checking in, see if the nausea is gone. Because if the nausea is gone, then I don't throw up. Okay. Then checking in becomes looking for danger rather than noticing what I find. So if you're in this check-in process, right? Go check in with a noticing mode. Oh yeah, I did find that. Yep. And check out, right? Like take a look backstage, see what's going on back there. And then you're meant to live up here. And so the check-in process should be less time backstage and more time on stage, and notice what's going on back there rather than, are there snakes? Are there bees? I see what my body's doing right now. Oh, yeah, there's a thought that's right there. Notice that. Check. That's it. Check. Noted. Check. The end. And then back here.
And expect that you're not going to feel good for a while. Right? That helps with the check-ins a lot, because when you internally hope that you will feel better by tomorrow or next tomorrow, or when you accept and allow, or when you use the sophisticated diffusing technique and you're like, oh, is it gone yet? Do I already feel better? Expect and tell yourself, you know what? I'm willing to feel shit for the next 7 days. After those 7 days, we will reevaluate. But for the next 7 days, my expectations to feel good are 0. And after 7 days, we'll see again. That will help tremendously.
Right.
Even people that don't have an anxiety problem, they don't feel good all the time. It's just, this feel-goodism, like you said, Michelle, it's not real, because humans are always going to feel something, and it's not always going to be pleasant, right? So if they don't get hooked in the anxiety loop. So I always just want to feel good. And that's been my bottom line. It's like, it's never, as human, you're going to be depressed, angry, frustrated, happy, sad, whatever. It's going to come and go.
Yeah.
And it's
there's
never
just people that are better at leaving their shitty feelings alone, right? Like, yeah, I feel awful today. And the response that comes after you found the same shitty feelings is this. And then redirect your focus somewhere else, because all right, this feels awful. Like I hit my elbow against the wall, right? Ow, is it better yet? 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 Is it better? No, it's not. So I can stay and do this for 20 more minutes. I go, ow, that's probably going to hurt for a while. Might as well go do something else while this still hurts. And it's that we're kind of not so good at, because we pull up a chair and we sit and wait for this to be better and then go back into life. It's like, this doesn't have to feel good to get back into life. I know this is easier said than done. Everybody likes to say that, but everything's easier said than done. That's why we focus on doing.
And just to clarify, Michelle is saying anxiety about anxiety. Okay, we're not saying, you know what, don't care about your feelings at all. Never look at why you feel sad or why you are angry. I feel angry, who cares? No, of course not. We're talking anxiety about anxiety, because when there's a threat on the outside, and if that would be a flashlight, I would point outwards. But what happens in anxiety is that flashlight is turned towards me. I feel anxious. And why do I feel anxious? And now everything is about me. It's not about my surroundings anymore. It's about me. And if you happen to be in that place, then leave it alone. It's not interesting. No analysis, no digging in it, trying to figure stuff out. Leave it alone and move on. But of course, if you're sad about something, yes, of course, you should process those emotions or take a look at it, talk to somebody, whatever. I hope that's common sense. But just want to clarify that, because sometimes we get the response that, what? But I've been leaving this alone for so long and it's gotten me to that place. Not really. It's a different thing. Definitely.
Absolutely. So Peter, you're welcome to stay around. You want to stay around? Do you have to run? You can stay around and answer some questions.
It's a snow day.
That'd be great.
That's right. It's a snow day. Yeah. All right. So should we get started? Well, should we keep going?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. These are so small on my phone for some reason today. All right. So, okay. I'm going to start with this first one here, and we'll work our way through whatever we don't answer, guys. Post on the app pages, scroll through, check the videos. I'm looking through all of them. They've all been addressed at some point of Dareland, but it's just nice to be able to pull them out and talk more about, specific questions. So here's the first one. My family's spending the holiday at my mom's house with my brother's family. Oh, because it's not just anxiety anymore. Now we're entering fancy holiday anxiety, right? Anxiety with like Christmas lights on it. I haven't been around that many people since COVID started, and I will be for 8 days. I'm already worrying about that I'll be, guys, see, so this is how I talk in my head when I read questions. I see how the words are formed, right? I'm worrying about, right now, I'm sitting and trying to problem solve an imagination of how I think I'm going to be, right? So the rest of the question is, I'm already worrying that I'll be an anxious wreck and not be able to sleep. Any tips on how to prepare my nervous system for the onslaught? See the words?
Yeah.
Fight words. They're in almost every single question on here.
Yeah. So first of all, set your expectations right. Like, what did you expect? That your mind would tell you, oh dear, this is going to be 8 wonderful days with your beloved family. You will sleep sound like a baby. No anxiety for you, promise. It's not going to happen. Your anxious mind is there to warn you, But we talked about the cinema screen before. Now you're sitting, you're looking at these thoughts and you're doing, oh yes, oh my God. And then, because anxiety is anticipation of pain, then I will sit there and I won't be able to sleep. And this then means that, and this then means that. You have no idea what will happen, how you will feel. You don't know. Your anxious mind is giving you an option. Look, you might feel this way and you won't like it. And now, how do you respond to that? You can either say, yeah, that's probably going to happen. And if so, I'll deal with it. Or, you know what, let's see what's going to happen. Take a let's see attitude, despite of what your mind is threatening you with. And the other thing is, always look at the core fear of this, because the core fear is not, oh my God, what if you feel anxious and can't sleep? But what if you are anxious and can't sleep and can't handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Always the
Handle
last
is on almost every single question. I'm struggling with this. What if I can't handle?
Mm-hmm. I sometimes get panic attacks when I drive on freeways, and there are big cars next to me on the left and on the side, and I'm driving with my tiny car, and I'm like, oh, I can see nothing and it's raining. But you know what? I never get what if thoughts about what if I get a panic attack. You know why? Because I know I can handle it. And that's really the difference. I know I can handle it because I've done it a million times. I'd be uncomfortable for a few moments, but that's it.
Right. And you handle it because you're not handling it. You're just experiencing it.
Yes.
Well, and anticipatory anxiety is always worst case scenario. But for me, anytime it never turned out like how I imagined it. Not once.
Mm-hmm.
And
guess what? And if it did, you just dealt with whatever that thing was.
And my thing was getting in front of people, presenting, and started to sweat. That was my big thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my thing with anxiety was, embarrassment. And I would stress days before a presentation, and I handled it in 99% of the time. Never got as bad. And if I did, I just sat there and sweat. And I think, okay, well, here it goes.
Right. And like, just to take a quick look at that question too, what are the facts and what's the story about the facts? So everybody, now there's 73 participants here. I'm going to read it. My family is spending the holiday at my mom's house with my brother's family. Facts, right? Truth. That's unchangeable, right? Yes, facts. I haven't been around that many people since COVID started, and it will be for 8 days. Facts. And then comes the story. Okay. I'm going to be an anxious wreck, won't be able to sleep. How do I? And so the facts are not changeable. Your story is changeable though. So here are the facts. I get to notice the facts. So anything that comes up with all, I see a lot of health anxiety and COVID questions coming up in this chat here, but what are the facts and what's your story about the facts? You get to change your story. You don't get to change the facts because it is what it is. And your story is your now what. Okay. And so like your story of the future, like you were saying, let's see, those are 2 of my favorite words, because let's see helps unglue your fight of the now what's. Because if you, the fight of the what ifs, I have a lot of 2-word phrases that I use a lot. What if, and then we go, this, oh my gosh, I don't want to freak out. What if I don't sleep? And then we go into some sort of action mode. Let's see unglues this fight of these what ifs. And it just lets them go back to what ifs. All right, well, maybe you're right. Maybe not. Let's see. And then I let go of my present fight while my imagination goes off to the future. It's the present fight that's what's keeping you in a heightened state, not shitty thoughts. I can have shitty thoughts, but we only have anxiety when we tend to do a lot of work about those thoughts.
Yeah, and always your attempt to control it I always say it's a
Mhm.
triangle. There is something I don't want, a trigger, for example, that holiday with your family. I don't like that. And now my attempt to control that. And sometimes it's very subtle. And anxiety lives in that triangle. There is a trigger, there is potential threat. I don't want that because that now means the added story. And now what can I do to not feel that?
Right. And what can I do to make sure that thing doesn't happen? But I don't
Yes.
want to get COVID, but I don't want to go crazy, but I don't want to embarrass myself, but I don't want it. It's you're imagining something you don't want. I don't want to throw up. I don't want to pass out. And I'm taking a present discomfort and I'm hooking it to some worst case scenario. And I think if I take some sort of action now, I'm going to prevent this thing that wasn't even happening, but I'm only fighting it because I don't want it to happen.
Exactly.
It's
And
never ending.
Yeah, you can change the trigger. You can change the fact that you don't like it. The only thing you have control over is your attempt to control or your willingness. Right. This is why the let's see approach works so well and combines really all the therapeutic points that are necessary to deal with that, right? Because you're letting go of control mechanisms, you're increasing your willingness, and by doing so, you are signaling your brain that, hey, whatever you're throwing at me, whatever comes my way, I can deal with it. And that way you open yourself up to make the experience that, hey, I can deal with that. And that in turn increases self-efficacy. And more self-efficacy means less anticipatory anxiety the next time.
And the more confidence you get, the more fear fades.
Right.
When you go out there with that mindset, the more confidence, the more it fades. And it's true. It's true. I mean, you just go out there. I think Patrick said, you go out there like a warrior, or what, let's go see what happens. And that's just that mindset.
Right. And action comes first, not confidence.
No,
confidence will come along later. You have to take action with fear, and then confidence starts to come. And as your confidence grows, your fear fades. You don't get rid of fear to grow confidence. You grow your confidence. And as confidence starts to take over, the fear becomes less.
And since we're talking about that, I want to add my favorite phrase. You don't need to believe in yourself. You don't need to believe that you are good in order to do good. You can think of yourself as a total failure. Doesn't matter. All this BS about you need to trust yourself and believe in yourself. No, that comes after. Doesn't come before. Comes after.
Yeah, so that word comes up a lot. Belief, deserve, worthy, like
esteem, self-esteem.
You don't have to believe it.
Yeah, you don't. And that's, I think, the biggest lie, the lie of the century. And we've been raised like that, our generation. If you only believe in yourself enough, you can achieve everything. No, if you work hard enough, you can achieve
Here comes Aida to slay your dreams. No, you can't.
Not you believe your actions, right? And then belief comes afterwards. But okay, let's move on to the next question, because we have quite a few today. I don't think we can go through all of them, but okay.
But guess what? If your question wasn't answered, it's answered somewhere. It's somewhere in Dareland. So it's on the YouTube channels, it's on our Instagram pages, it's in the Facebook pages. A search will pull up an answer to pretty much all of these, but we just like to pick some and, address them in detail.
I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions, Michelle, that you can answer very quickly. Okay. Do you ever deal with anxiety induced by antidepressants, withdrawals, or other meds?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything special about anything different?
Oh, I thought you really just wanted a quick.
Quick.
Yes, of course. If you're tapering off medication, you're expecting discomfort. That would be a fluctuating level of discomfort. To expect, our problem lies here. So expect an increased level of a lot of things, of messed up sleep, of zaps, of brain zaps, of heightened anxiety. But remember, this was never to be attended to. This is what we get to change. So there's been a few things about, I had COVID and now I'm having a heightened level of anxiety and now I'm having a setback because my anxiety is stronger. No, this is just your physiological response. This is what your body's doing as a response to being sick. And so our problem is the leave it alone section. And so expect discomfort as you're tapering off medication. Absolutely. Some medications more than others, but I'm giving a very short answer to that, but that's been addressed before on other webinars.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
think that the next question ties into your answer, Michelle. How do you handle anxiety when it's an actual symptom of an autoimmune disease? I'll kind of say the same answer. Can tinnitus be caused by anxiety?
It's like chicken or the egg there, right? So it's sure, you're in a heightened state and now you hear more things and you see more things and your senses are heightened. You're also more aware of the ringing in your ear that might have already been there that you didn't notice before. And now if you notice it and you check in and you're trying to get rid of it, you're just going to keep finding it. And even on the question before, how do you handle anxiety when it's an actual symptom of an autoimmune disease? Handle keeps coming up. Struggling keeps coming up. It's nothing to handle. It's like almost expected. Oh yeah, I have this thing that tends to fluctuate my levels. I get these rushes of adrenaline sometimes for no reason. And then I don't add the extra, Patrick's collateral damage term. I don't add the extra like response to, oh my gosh, now what do I do? Or then I hear, but is it the autoimmune disease or is it anxiety? Is it POTS or is it anxiety? Which one do I what do I do different? Like, you're not doing anything differently to either one. You're experiencing a discomfort regardless of where it came from. Remember, the why is generally less important than the now what, of almost like expecting. That's why the period questions come up all the time. I have more anxiety right before I get my period. Yep. The answer is, yep.
Normal
Fluctuation
of hormones, like serotonin, estrogen, progesterone fluctuates, and that causes something, and you notice that. But now what?
Right.
How do you handle that? Okay, next question. Hi, I'm struggling with sensations that get really bad and last all day. They get so bad I struggle to move about as my body is hurting. Oh, sorry, I think.
Oh, I see. I have the rest of it here. I have the rest. Also, I've been getting quite a lot of adrenaline rushes. I'm still pushing myself to go out, but my anxiety is due to the coronavirus. So I'm starting to find it really hard again. I'm dealing with this anxiety in my own as I have no support and I'm finding it really hard. I'm scared of going back where I was, so I won't be able to go out again as I'm lacking motivation. Please help.
If you wait to be motivated, you will never be, because anxiety will always tell you to hide at home and to not face pain. So your motivation really lies in your values, right? It's a conscious choice to face the discomfort, because after the discomfort is your life. And if you don't do anything, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse, as anxiety tends to become chronic and to generalize onto other areas. But it seems like you're really having a hard time, and it also feels like you feel really lonely in this journey. So my first advice would be to really connect with people who are going through the same thing and to not go through this alone. Anxiety is hard to go through alone. And I think that in the warmth and in the support of other people, you will find more motivation and reasons to go out, as you will hear other people's successes. And you will also notice that you are not alone in your suffering, because this is what tends to happen when we experience anxiety. We are very harsh on ourselves, and we think we are the only person in the world feeling that way. And that adds to feelings of depression. And depression again turns to la. You see how this goes, like it's a vicious cycle. So try and connect with other people. That's the first thing I would advise you to do. Second, try and connect with your values. Why am I doing that? And be really kind to yourself in this time. Don't try to rush the process. If you can do just one single thing, one step in the right direction, do that. Focus on what you can do today, just a bit. And all the what ifs. What if COVID? What if heart attack? What if derealization? It's all the same thing, just a different color. So it doesn't matter, what if thought you are fighting the most. In the end, it's just a what if. Connect with other people and start today, one small step in the right direction. And then your way will unfold. And you can't have it figured out all today. This is what anxiety wants. Give me the plan. Tell me what to do exactly, when, how. Let me write everything down and then I'm going to do it. This is not how it goes.
Yeah. And if you're on this call, you have access to the buddy groups, right? That's why we have this whole DARE community, and not to what's the word, where like commiserate, right? Oh God, it's never going to go away. Oh, anybody ever feel? It's more like, oh yeah, here's a whole bunch of people experiencing the same thing, but I'm not alone. And we're going to learn how to experience them like kind of together. And you see there's people from every country around the world here. Somebody wrote, I don't know how to connect with buddy groups. So you guys should all have access to the Dare app subscribers Facebook group. Pinned to the top is a link on where all of our buddy groups are. So check it out. It's part of this. I know it's only $10 a month, but like, you know, you get all this stuff. So get your money's worth out of it, right? Connect to buddy groups where, you know, it's free. It's included in all of this.
Let me add on sensations, Michelle, because there were times I would just sit in my bed, curl up in a ball because it hurt so bad. But I would go and I would just go out and do it. And I would make, even if it was one thing, go and put some laundry in or run into the store or whatever, I would go out and do something to show myself that I was okay. And then, you know, so I get the pain. You're like, how can this be so painful? But unfortunately it is. But yeah, I was not going to be a victim, and I was not going to sit in my room and just let this thing control my life. And I got pissed at it. I'm like, I'm done. And then I just went out and engaged. And like you said, Michelle, or Aida, go out and just go be with that feeling and move with it. And that's what I did. And it switches and it changes, and sensations change from moment to moment. That's what you'll really notice as you go with this. They always change, always. They never stay the same. Thoughts too. It always is flowing. And that's how you heal.
And that's and that's an okay thing. It's not, it's whack-a-mole. Oh, here we go again. Oh, now it's morphed to something else. No, your body always fluctuates. Everything fluctuates. But like the very first word of it is, hi, I'm struggling with sensations. They get really bad and they last all day. So the answer to that is to stay home, spend less time out here, spend more time with the sensations that I hate the most, which will make me fight them the most, which will make me find them more, which will make me fight them more. And so that's the backwards habit that we get into, where we fight ourselves into a corner. We think you're going to fight yourself out of it. Doesn't work that way, right? Action, you're taking action. This is like the great example when people are taking action on things that are non-actionable. You will not fight it away. This is where it fades due to irrelevance. So how much time, and like, I'd love, even on the participants, you think of how many hours a day you're spending trying to heal your anxiety, right? How many hours are you spending scrolling on Instagram, checking, assessing, Google, like, how am I going to die today on Google? Looking at my sensations, trying to feel better, doing a million different things, hours and hours, you're engaging in discomfort. The goal is notice discomfort, engage in life. And so I know that's hard to do, but creating some sort of routine, even ahead of time, where it's like, whether I feel great or whether I feel shit at 3 o'clock, I'm bringing all of whatever I'm feeling with me on this walk at 3 p.m. And this way you switch into more action mode for things that are actionable. It's no more about like waiting to feel better so that I can go do things. It's go do things while I feel, and then I may or may not accidentally start feeling better, but it'll never be the goal, right? The goal will be action.
I love that. Accidentally. That's a key word, really, because most people go there, internally hope, oh, if I do this, I will feel better.
Yes.
Right? It's very subtle,
such a pitfall.
very, very, very subtle, but be aware of that. Be aware of that.
Once I got that, it's the fear of what anxiety might do to me that kept me from fully accepting. Once I got that, it doesn't do anything to me. The accepting was a breeze. It really, and it's not a breeze. I mean, it's hard at times, but because it's my fear of what if actually, if I let it all in, what if it swamps me, and it never does. So once you lose your fear of what it might do to you, and you can let it all in, you really see that it will never do anything to you, because once you let it all in 100%, it will completely calm down. It might take a while, but it absolutely goes away. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
That's the hard part. That's what takes that leap of faith, because because we have fear paired with danger. And because in real life, we like danger, like we pair fear with danger. But when fear shows up without danger, we start pairing the fact that we feel fear as if it's danger. And so we start treating fear as danger. So when you let fear in, you treat it as not danger. And then you're in more fear, but you're not in more danger.
I love the analogy with the flu, because it's really true. It may sound stupid, but it's true. When you have the flu, you can't go to work, your nose is blocked, you feel shitty, you are tired, but you're not obsessing about it, but you're obsessing about an intrusive thought or a panic attack. Why? And it's exactly what Peter said. What will this do to me? And of course, the favorites, what if it never goes away? Like, I would get worried if I didn't know if this flu will ever go away, if I wouldn't know. Am I going to have this forever? I'm going to feel like this forever. That would be awful. But I know from experience, oh no, this is going to take a week and then I'm going to feel better. And if you could just believe that, truly believe that oh yeah, this is an anxious phase. It's just a season of life, nothing more. You would fear it 50% less. And people, and that's a process of recovery, because people who have experienced a lot of setbacks, they lose their fear of anxiety every time more, because they know, oh, okay, it's just a flare-up. It's just a phase, just a season, nothing more. And of course, it's hard to believe that in the beginning, but this is the leap of faith that you need to take. It
Right.
is, your body's going to take care of itself if you take away all the story adding to it.
So Aida, I'm going to I'm going to add, that sounds awful, two things together, which look like almost the same question, but from two different people. How could DARE be applied to chronic pain and the fears that accompany them, and also to the fear of death? And then the next question is, can you address the link between fear/anxiety and pain? And so it's just so coincidental that those two questions came in back to back from two different people, but the fear pain association.
Yeah. So remember the triangle I talked about. There is a trigger, there is something I don't want, then I try to control it in some way. And chronic pain is a universe of its own. So there are different treatment plans for that. But the anxiety added to the chronic pain is the stories that we tell ourselves, or the fear we add. What if it never stops? What if I never find out what is causing this? And the more stress we experience in response to anxiety, the more pain we will experience, because our sensitivity for pain increases when we are stressed as a response to stress hormones. So the best thing you can do is to use DARE to dare through all the added stories around the pain and the negative appraisal of the pain, and noticing that your mind will naturally appraise the pain very negatively and tell you how bad this is, how this could mean this and that, how it will never go away, how restricted your life is because of that, how you can't do this and you can't do that, and all that negativity about that. And it takes conscious effort to say, you know what? Yes, it's bad, but I can still do this. And I will get better. I might not know how, but I will try my very best. I can only control what I can control. I'm going to focus on that. So DARE helps you with your attitude around your chronic pain. And fear of death, it's kind of like another story that maybe doesn't tie into that.
Yeah, that was the second part of the first question. I'm going to go with the two pain questions.
Maybe we can address that as a general question, Michelle, with COVID, death anxiety.
Yep, fear of, which we actually kind of did. It's like the fight of the idea of what if something out of my control happens, but I'm fighting it now. It's not happening now. It's not existing now, but you're imagining it now. You're thinking about it now, and you're fighting the idea of it now.
You know, you guys, the fear of death it's an interesting concept. And we as humans, we are the only creatures that are aware that we will die one day. And that awareness of our own death can cause us to experience high levels of anxiety. And what COVID did was that it brought the death to our awareness, and it keeps our awareness high around the topic every day, every time you see someone wearing a mask or somebody reminding you to socially distance. So that awareness of death is always around. We don't usually have that, but now it's everywhere. And so be kind with yourself. And when you notice your anxiety around death increases, you can tell yourself, oh yeah, it's normal because I'm being confronted with this every day, all day, but it's really no different than it was months ago, right? I did not have any control over my death then that I have now. I'm doing the best that I can in order to not, get infected. all these things that we're doing, but we can't do more than that. We just can't. We need to let that part go that we don't have any control over, but understand that it's very normal, and be kind to yourself as best as you can.
Right. And remember, your body, your alarm sends you fear to fight whatever it is you're fighting. The fear doesn't come from the outside source. It's not, I'm being bombarded by these scary thoughts. I'm getting scary thoughts and thoughts of fear, and the elevator is scary. And no, the elevator is the elevator. Fear comes from your body because you're fighting this thing. So you take fear and use fear to fight the idea of death. And so you'll always have that idea of like, yes, here you go. How do you let go of the fear of cancer? Oh, same way you do the fear of aneurysms and the fear of COVID and the fear of death and all the fear of like, you're right. I don't want that thing. Here's this thing I don't like, to obnoxiously oversimplify the whole thing. Here's something I really don't want to happen. I don't like this thing that's happening. And here's fear helping me take action on this thing I don't want to happen. Are my actions productive in this? Or is my fight doing anything about it? Or is it just keeping me in a state of anxiety? Even if let's say you are sick, you can still, we're more concerned about, okay, but I am sick. What if it gets worse? And so it's always almost like 2 steps into the future. It's like, I've talked to people who were desperately scared of COVID, and then they got COVID. And then when they called me again, it was, oh yeah. I'm like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm just in bed and I don't feel well, but I just can't stop thinking, what if it gets worse? So it's always like taking the present and hooking it to some other thing that's worse that we don't get to control. We get to control this and this, but you get to acknowledge, yes, you're right. I don't want that to happen. Yes, that is scary. Yes, that's unpleasant. And I don't like that, but I'm dropping the fight of that part. And so it's not, your body sends you fear to help you fight. Take a look at what you're fighting and see if it's actually fightable or not.
Yeah, Michelle, you said basically what we're doing is retraining ourselves to react in a different way. Mm-hmm. And you said something on YouTube where we go out and we don't know Spanish, but we go out and try to learn it. So we go out and try to react in a different way every day, and we retrain and we build those neurons to become somebody else. Basically, this is a pattern we've been in for years, for right. However long. So you got to retrain yourself. And you said, Michelle, you got to do the alphabet backward, and then you can't do it, but you got to practice it.
Right. Because that's a habit and it's ingrained. Right. So, and don't get frustrated that I still know the alphabet backwards, but I'm still scared. So what that you're still scared? Really, that's the answer. That's what I want that to be your answer. You start saying those words, but I'm still scared. So what? I can be scared. I can be scared. I'm not in danger. I'm scared. When I'm scared and there's danger, I fight danger. I'm scared. So you want to start giving the response the same look my 13-year-old gives all of us now, which is this. Right? Like, okay, I'm scared. And that's when you start changing your response. Like we were never meant to attend to scared. Scared is really like fear is released in our body so we can use it to fight something. Are you trying to fight? What if I get sick? Well, that's not fightable. That's imaginable. It's noticeable, not actionable. And so let go of the action. Forget that you're still scared. Yeah, you can notice that you're still scared, but there's still nothing to do about that either. And so again, it's letting go of the fight of the things that are not fightable. Habits.
Exactly. And keep in mind, in caveman time, there was no such things as intrusive thoughts and fear of, will that person like me on that party? How do my colleagues evaluate me? Will that girl like me back? Like the stress response got triggered a few times. I need to eat. Will I starve? Am I going to survive this winter? How can I fight that tribe? That was it. Mm-hmm. That was it. It's not ding, 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 ding the whole fucking day, right? Our stress system is being activated. So we really need to learn a new response, because times will not change. It's not going to get any better. We're not going to be any less stressed in the near future, I assume. I predict that. I wish it would be, but I don't think it will happen. So we really need to step back from this fight or flight response and all the feelings and thoughts that come with it, or else we will be forever, ever and ever in that fight with ourselves. That's not worth living. It's not nice. It's going to prevent you from living your values, and a life not based in values is really not a life that you will be proud of at the end of your life. So make it your goal not to change feelings and thoughts or your stress response. You can't. Make it your goal to change your attitude towards them. Do your best to not try and get out of your head by analysis. Oh, let me read another book and another book. Let me read Dare again and this daily Dare and attend that meeting and that Dare advance call and that webinar, because when I have all the information, I will finally be able to do it. No, you won't. Once you really understand.
No, you won't. Here she is slaying your dreams again, everybody.
No, but
you won't.
Really understand how the anxiety cycle works, and you know what you need to do. Guess what? You need to do it. It's in the doing, and this is what Peter said before, and I loved it. You need to do it.
Right. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of, I'm going to read, and listen. If I just hear one more thing Aida said, something's going to click, and then it'll all fall into place. Yeah, but you're missing the middle piece of, like, once you understand how this works, then it's the implementation of it. Like Peter, like you were saying, like, you want to learn Spanish, you got to just speak bad Spanish a lot and get it wrong and not try and get it just right. And if I got to get it wrong, I got to take another Spanish webinar class. No, you just have to keep speaking Spanish wrong, right? Learn where you got it wrong. So you could say, oh yeah, that's the part I got wrong. But when we have this black or white perfectionist mindset, we don't allow ourselves to learn from getting it wrong. But spoiler alert, you're going to get things wrong. So how do you act when you've gotten things wrong, right? Am I viewing that as a failure? Well, then that's going to keep you locked for a bit. But if you're viewing that as, oh yeah, I fought for my life in the grocery store and I was fighting fear, not the groceries. Right. Okay. So now next time when I go, right. So it should always be used like, positively rather than I did it wrong. I'm a failure. I'm never going to get over this. I'm going to be stuck like this forever. That's that sticky mindset that gets us so trapped.
Yeah. And guys, we all, we went for this. And the only thing we cannot teach you is to do it. Just do it. Like we fit for that. Yeah. For all the hard times and the 1,000 repetition of diffusion, and sitting with that awful sensation, lying in bed, not being able to sleep, but doing your very best to not obsess about it and say, okay, we're not going to sleep tonight. Let's better pick up that book, get a snack, and just be awake.
Right. Show me how you allowed it. Instead of just saying like, I allow, like, okay, so you allow that thought, show me how that thought's allowed to be there. And so that might help. I've been saying that the last week or so on my calls, like, oh, that's allowed. Put that into action. I want to see how that's allowed, because if you're telling me I'm saying I accept and allow, but it's still there. It still bothers me. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Well, show me something's allowed to be there. You're not checking to see if it's gone. Like, oh, it's allowed to be there. I was allowed to wear a white shirt today, right? You're allowed to wear a black shirt. Peter's allowed to be here, right? It's like, all right, well, here we are, right? But if there's constant checking to see what if I'm doing wrong, so much work. Allow means I don't have to like it, but it's allowed to be here because it's not a threat to my life right now. And so I'm not fighting. If something was a threat to my life, I would never tell you to use dare, right? Do not allow danger right now, fight for your life. But I have to practice allowing discomfort and then switch focus. That's the engaged part. Where does your focus remain? Is it remaining on the shit that you don't like? Oh yeah, that thing's allowed to be there, but I'm going to keep staring at it all day long. If you like it, stare at it. But if you hate it, look at something else, right? Look at something else while that thing stays there. Because remember, it's allowed, so it doesn't have to leave. But this is what's changeable. You don't have to change this. This is everybody's trying to look here so this goes away. But it's a matter of leaving this. This becomes unimportant. And then you give your body a chance to wind itself down, to settle down. Somebody mentioned digestive problems. There are a few questions that came in about eating and I'm restricting my foods because I'm feeling so anxious, but then I'm so aware of swallowing and what if I choke and what if I feel sick and then I feel nauseous, and yeah, you're in a heightened state. And if you're fighting your own heightened state, you're not going to fight it away. As you start to let go, this will start to let go too.
Let me give you my favorite analogy, Michelle analogy that I love so much because it's like so to the point. How does your respiratory system and your cardiovascular system know that it should start to calm down after a jog? How do you know that? How does it know that? Do you say, "Oh, I'm done, I'm home, you can stop now"? No. Doesn't
No.
happen. But your body notices, "Oh, she's not running anymore."
Right.
It's-
It follows your lead. It's
Yes.
following your lead. And if your lead is to continue to fight, here it comes to help you fight. Stop running.
Oh, you know what helped me? You know, this go spaghetti. So I when I'm driving or I'm feeling anxious, I go into noodle mode.
Noodle
So,
mode.
Noodle mode. Yeah. And I'll just completely relax all my body and everything and just kind of go like this. And it's amazing how you end up being calm when you do that. So yeah.
And like even changing your words too. I remember that call with the drive and with the DP and DR, you're like, everything looks weird, right? Everything feels weird. And it was like, we had our call of, yeah, there's those fake ass trees and my fake ass car with my fake ass body. And like, you kind of go with it rather than, oh, this looks weird, you know? And like, you gave such a great example on one of those calls where like, I noticed everything started to look weird and everything kind of felt weird. And then I also noticed the sky was really, really blue out. This is why I thought you were in California. I thought you were driving in California. Like I noticed the sky was really blue. And I also noticed the radio was playing this song. And it was like, then you switch back from like this. Did I have this on the last webinar? I know this was on did I have this, Aida?
No, I didn't think
I had this on Dare Advance.
Mhm.
I just want to mention this quick. So this is kind of the steps it goes. So we kind of intermingle these words a lot. And so on the Dare Advance call, one of the Dare Advance calls I ran last month, like we all start with awareness, right? You wake up and there's an awareness. If you're sleeping, there's really not much awareness. So you wake up, your eyes are open, there's an awareness. Anxiety kind of makes your light bulb a little bit brighter. So you have now a heightened awareness, okay? You have without awareness, you're not able to notice things. So now that the lights are on, now I notice what's in this room. The lights were off, I don't see anything. Okay. This is not a problem. This is awareness, right? I am now like, I have information, like I have stimulus coming in and I'm noticing things that I couldn't see if the room was dark. So when the lights were off, I don't notice anything. The lights are kind of on. Oh, I notice all that stuff. The lights are really bright. Now there's a crack in that wall. There was a crack in that wall before. But when the lights are dimmer, you might not notice that crack. And so the lights are brighter, you notice more things. Still not the problem. When we decide what warrants our attention and what gets, like becomes irrelevant, this is when what we focus on, whatever we're focusing on is what we're telling our brain, this is really important. And everything else gets disregarded. Right? Just like how we're looking right now. If you're looking straight here, your peripheral vision, I'm very bad at saying that word, becomes blurred until you decide to look here. And then as a byproduct of looking here, this becomes blurred. So what you focus on is what you see the most clearly. If you are focusing on how shitty you feel all day, guess what you're going to find most clearly? And if you're paying attention to things you're trying to get rid of, like if I just dare harder, and maybe I'll stop noticing it so much. Gonna notice it more because you're staring at it more. So what you want to do is just stop, pay attention to something else, right? Direct your focus here, right? And so you don't get to not notice something. Okay, look, real quick. Try and not notice that. Do you notice that? Do you say everybody sees this thing? You see it,
Oh my
you notice
God,
it?
Michelle, what is that on your nose? Could that be cancer or a tumor? A black tumor.
So try to not notice it. Try to, so this is like, obviously it's a joke and I'm kind of a jerk, but like try and not notice it. You can't. You've either noticed something or you haven't. But we get stuck as I've noticed it and now I don't want to notice it. So I'm not going to look at it and I hope I don't notice it anymore. And then I'll check in and I'm like, shit, I still notice it. It's still there. Is it gone? Oh my gosh. But you guess that. And so like, what's going to happen is if I put this on in the beginning of the call and it would be like funny, so funny, right? Not really. But eventually we would get into the call and I might say something that was more relevant to what you're talking about. Oh, she's talking about health anxiety now. And suddenly you kind of stop paying attention to this because the topic now became more important and your focus and attention became like pulled towards something else. This is still here, but this didn't have to go away. You don't have to stop noticing it. You've either noticed something or you don't. What you have control over, I'm going to take this off my face, is what you pay attention to and what you leave alone. And so we're teaching you how to pay attention to danger, but don't pay attention to discomfort to try and not notice it and get rid of it. You will just keep a heightened awareness. So drop the focus and the attention and the energy that's placed on the thing you don't like and divert your attention elsewhere.
Exactly. And we could summarize all of what we have said into one thing: make anxiety irrelevant. Your goal is to perceive it as irrelevant as something absolutely normal, like being grumpy sometimes, or having a fight with your spouse sometimes, or your kids having an attitude sometimes. Whatever, it is irrelevant. And by not looking at it, Michelle, do that again.
Oh, I put it on the paper. It's pretty okay.
I can notice that, oh, Michelle has something on her face. Okay, that's weird. Period.
That's it. That's the dairy response right there. It's this.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay. And now I'm going to keep talking to Michelle, discussing with Michelle, being on that call with Michelle, and just doing everything I normally would do with Michelle, despite that black thing being on her nose, because I know at some point it will go away or she will take it off or whatever. It's a weird example, but leaving it alone, making it irrelevant. The whole problem with anxiety is, yeah, maybe the onset of anxiety was triggered by something, but then you started to make it big, to make it relevant, to stare at it. That is your doing. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's your doing. But it's a good thing because you did it, so you can undo it by treating it as something totally normal, something not dangerous.
Right. And that's why somebody wrote engaged. What are different things to engage in? Anything else, life.
Anxiety.
Right? Because what you're engaged in is what you're deeming as important. Right. And so it's like, well, I don't let anything become this stuff goes away as a fading process, as a byproduct of no longer treating it as important. So if you're still checking to see if it's gone, you're not giving your body permission to let go of it yet. If you're still trying to get rid of it, and so like we kind of get stuck in this catch-22 of like I'm just trying to feel better. Not really. You're just smart and fighting. So the people that are smarter are the ones that find more subtle ways to fight. And so it's really like, notice this thing that's here and how much time do you spend trying to make sure this thing is not here. You don't have to get rid of this. This is the whole point of meditation. Okay. If you're doing meditation, to really try and not notice this thing and is it gone, or to like it, or to not care, but I still care, but I'm not doing it right. But why do I care? It's noting, oh, here's this thing that's pulled my attention. I've noticed it and I've decided to redirect my own attention to what I choose to focus on. This is a very wimpy muscle here of ours. So it's learning how to make this muscle stronger, my redirection muscle.
Yes. And one ingredient too, the judgment. Because in meditation, I notice without judgment. Mm-hmm. And that's so important because this is the same thing when we say you're adding stories. I can say, oh, here is a heart sensation. Oh my God.
Why? What is it?
That is because of, and that now means past, future, because of, and that now means. Okay, that is hard to draw your attention away from that again. This is why it's so important to be non-judgmental, to say, oh, I have a heart sensation. That's all that is happening. All that is happening. Oh, I have tinnitus. Oh, I have a rash. Period. Okay, wait and see. If it's still there after 3 days, I'll maybe go and see a doctor. But until then, it's just a rash. It's just a sensation. I'll leave it be, notice, and move on. And maybe we can, because we are already way over time, but Michelle, maybe we could notice, because there have been a lot of questions around health anxiety today in the questions that people sent in, but also in the chat. Mm-hmm. So maybe just briefly, health anxiety, same anxiety cycle, same things apply to diffusion, to exposure, to everything that we talked about. But one thing in health anxiety, if you imagine that we have 3 zones we can be in physically. So we have, let's say, the green zone where we feel super comfortable. We don't notice any weird sensation or any discomfort at all. We are totally fine. Then we have a gray zone where most people are in every day. I have a tingle here, a mild headache, maybe some digestive issues, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And there's the red zone where I'm in severe pain or really do need help, immediate help or later on. And people with health anxiety, for them, the gray zone doesn't exist. It's either I'm perfectly healthy or I'm terminally ill. Nothing in between. And what you need to practice is to allow your body and to accept that you are going to be, that most of the time of your whole life, you will be in the gray zone, not in the green zone. So whenever you notice a sensation, to be really practical, your brain will jump directly to the red zone. Oh my God, danger. And now you notice that and you respond to that by saying, oh no, that belongs into the gray area. And yes, in the beginning, you won't believe it, but with time and practice and by not reacting with reassurance and safety behaviors and going to the doctors, going to Google, but leaving it be and allowing yourself to be in that gray zone with time will be much more easy around sensations. It's a pretty easy exercise to do, but it can really work like magic. So everybody who suffers from any sort of health anxiety, practice that and allow yourself for 3 days, at least 3 days, to say, I'm going to allow this to be present for 3 days. If it gets worse, I can still go and see the doctor. I'm not going to die in a matter of 3 days. And trust yourself to know the difference between something that is really uncomfortable and terminal illness or immediate danger where you need to call the ambulance. Trust yourself to know the difference. You do know it, even though your anxiety tells you you can't trust yourself. You can trust that.
Right. Yeah. There were a lot of questions on health anxiety. And remember, most of it is because it's a present discomfort that we're fighting the idea of it turning into something terrible into the future. And so if I just eliminate this feeling, I can eliminate this idea, this terrible idea, and drop that fight. That's never ending fight because you'll always be looking for something. And so whether it's health anxiety or not, right? The awareness here is not the problem. We are very aware of our thoughts and our physical sensations. Well, look at that freckle. Look at that freckle. Look at that freckle. Oh my God. What about this? This twinge. What about this? Forget all those questions. Don't post them anymore on the Facebook pages. Is this, anybody ever have this? Anybody ever this? Anybody ever this? Yes. The answer is yes.
Always yes.
Yes. Okay. I want you to be less aware. I want you to spend less time showing me all the shit you don't like. And I want you to shine that light more on your actions and behaviors towards that thing. I don't want to hear about that weird feeling. I want to hear about all the time you're spending staring and looking at how you're treating that weird thing. How much attention are you giving that weird thing? It's not, I feel disconnected. It's, I feel disconnected. And then this is how I treat disconnected. It's, I had the thought I don't like. I want you to look at this part, not this part, because we all know the details of this part. So it's never really the physical things or the things that you're fighting. I would love to see more of awareness about your fight of, not your feeling of, because it's the fight where the anxiety lives.
If you want to journal, if that is something you enjoy, journal about all the ways you try to fight yourself. And then like
that's what the awareness needs to grow on. That
make a chart on the left side. This is sensation XYZ. And these are all the stories I add to that sensation. Oh, this is because of, and that now means. You can write that down and then write everything down and see, oh my God, okay, I'm blowing this thing up because it's really just a sensation. And then work on decreasing those behaviors that you're adding to those stories.
Yeah, as Barry said, he tried to normalize it as much as possible. And basically, adrenaline and cortisol, there you go. That's all it is. And it makes you feel like crap, and it makes your body do and brain do weird things. Other than that, that's all it is.
Yeah. And that's the answer. But look at your face. It's not like somebody else would say those same words and go, oh gosh, and this adrenaline and cortisol, and you just can't do anything about it. And it becomes like so frustrating. But with that flippant sort of like, oh, fucking well mindset of like, it's adrenaline, cortisol. That's how it's supposed to feel, right? That's not the common chemicals. It's the get up and do something chemicals in your body, right? It's those hormones are released to put you into action. And then we're taking action to try and calm down. Good luck with that. It's not going to work. That was my little image I posted the other day. The horses were released from the gates. One was adrenaline and one was cortisol. They're already out. Now what? And then there was a picture of somebody trying to drag them from behind and slow them down, and somebody just getting on and riding them. Expect them, guys. Expect them when you feel something that you've felt as a threat. Here comes adrenaline. Here comes cortisol. Expect it in the morning, right? That's kind of how your body wakes up. Cortisol comes and helps you wake up. Expect it to feel uncomfortable. It's what comes a second after that discomfort that's changeable. Here's that feeling. Now what? Not why. Now what? This is 100% changeable, or there is no freaking way I would still be working here. I would go do something else.
Seconds. Thank you, Michelle. That's a good thing. Got 5 seconds after there's awareness, and then I notice, and my initial reaction will always be, I don't want this. Like, that's a default state. And then you got 5 seconds to change it. 5 seconds. You can say, oh no, oh, hold on a second. Oh, it's just adrenaline. No, oh my God, it's adrenaline. Oh no, I remember. Oh, it's just adrenaline. Now I change my attitude. And if you don't do that, you're going to go with your default flow of, oh my God, and what the fucks. Right? So don't allow that to happen. Use that 5-second rule. After you notice that something's up, something you don't like, give it 5 seconds, and then gather all your strengths together and do the right thing.
And once you learn how to do this with anxiety, you can do anything. Because once you learn how to deal with fear and all these sensations, you'll be unstoppable. Because you're like you'll be fearless, you know?
Do you notice that this goes to other parts of your life now too? Like this whole like let go of stuff that maybe has nothing to do with anxiety?
I mean, who else is out there doing this? Not a lot of people would probably look at their feelings and face their fear. Not a lot of people do that. We do.
Right.
It makes us strong. That's pretty special.
I'm so glad you were able to join our call. Peter's one of our DARE alumni. So you guys like this. We're going to do this more often. Bring in some people who have come through the program, put names and faces with posts on Facebooks. You know, we're also looking to bring in like some of the people that run the master classes on the app. Be sure to check them out. Every month we have a new master class from somebody outside of DARE with, you know, things that tie into DARE. And who knows, maybe anybody else out there, we have connections to people from all around the world. Anybody knows a speaker that's in line with our DARE philosophy, somebody that's, you know, whatever, who might really kind of reinforce this idea, send us the information. Maybe we can, you know, keep growing these webinars. Yeah, feel free. What was I going to say? So this is going to be posted. I don't know exactly when, hopefully very soon. And then you guys can watch it for the whole month. And then when there'll always be one up and available. So watch this one. And then when our next webinar, it's probably going to be like January 12th, I think it'll be in the app. That one will replace the old one. And then we'll probably cut bits and pieces from this and put them on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and sorry guys, we were not able to answer all the questions you guys submitted, but feel free to take your specific question and post it on the DARE app subscribers group. There you will get a lot of great responses from other people, and also Michelle and I are around and can answer 1 or 2 questions there. Thank you so much for attending, everybody.
Thank
Peter.
you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, everybody. Thanks for coming, Peter.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the DARE podcast. The DARE app has over 1 million downloads and is helping people all around the world to overcome anxiety and panic attacks. You can download the app for free at dareresponse.com.